I have some breaking news coming out of Washington, D.C., as well as the state of Oregon. The governor of Oregon and the mayor of Portland continue to say night after night that Portland is safe, that Antifa is not a terrorist group, but an idea. President Trump needs to immediately withdraw National Guard. Well, now a huge Trump supporter and journalist, Nick Sortor of Washington, D.C., has been jumped by Antifa for trying to save an American flag they were burning. He was arrested, and the police are saying that he was the one causing the problems. To help me go through this and other big stories, I have Oron Macintyre from the Oron Macintyre Show over on Blaze Media. Oron, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So, kind of a crazy story. We're jumping in here. I know you have covered Antifa, Blaze Media, Glenn Beck, others. You guys have covered this. Are we being lied to about the strength and the danger of Antifa?
I think we've all seen the danger of Antifa. Obviously, it was a major factor in the 2020 riots with BLM Antifa. They were critical players in driving up the violence, attacking police officers, burning down buildings. These were people who were, don't forget, taking over blocks of the Pacific Northwest, declaring autonomous zones. We laugh, but two teenagers were murdered during this whole time. Government buildings were under siege for months, and yet we saw no response from the government. We saw no serious charges applied to these people. So this has been a group that has been acting behind the scenes for a long time. When they come out in public, they come out as black bloc activists, right? They come out, they cover their face, they have tactics specifically designed to allow them to do violence to conservatives and to police officers and then disappear into the crowd and protect themselves. They have a lawyers guild that works specifically to get them out of jail as soon as they are arrested. Now, a lot of people like to go around and say, Antifa is just an idea. It's an idea. Well, that's what you say about terrorist cells. That's how terrorists work. There is no central command structure. You're not going to find the Antifa book with everyone's name and a registered IRS account, right? These people work as terrorist cells, and so they make sure to separate themselves. They are working together in tandem in some degree, but they are not, there's no central organization. They work autonomously, but they get the same kind of funding, the same kind of influence. So we are looking at a wider network that is designed to proliferate political violence in the United States. And all this, oh, it's just an idea. This is just clearly cover for terrorism.
Yeah, well said. Obviously, President Trump is concerned. He's labeled them a terrorist organization. He's asked for investigations into the money trail, paper trail, how they're organizing. Is it Craigslist? Is it Facebook? Figure this thing out so that they can be dismantled, maybe bring RICO charges. I think it's interesting, though, depending on which way you lean or which social media app or who you get your news from, I've been watching the left-leaning media. They continue to show like videos of Portland being very calm, people walking around, they're in parks. Then you go to right-leaning media and you see they're burning down cars, they're burning American flags, they're harassing the police. It's like the police are afraid to go in. When President Trump made it illegal to burn an American flag or face a year in jail, what did they do? They went out and burned even more American flags. So Nick Sortor, somebody that I follow on X, who does an excellent job of reporting, he's like, okay, are they really as dangerous as the president of the United States says? So he flies out there as a journalist to go see. He sees all kinds of commotion. And then finally, when somebody burns an American flag, he decides to jump in. Let's take a look at that footage, and then we'll discuss it.
We got a Trump supporter. We got a Trump supporter right here.
Oh, he's putting it on the ground and he's making it worse. And now he's standing on it. Now he's standing on it. You're not supposed to stand on it. Oh, now I think he's saving it.
All right. So they don't mind that it's being burned, but you threw it on the ground. You're standing on it. That's disrespectful. Your thoughts on the violence, the pushback? To me, it seems like the police are afraid to do anything there in Portland.
I think it's much worse. I think the police are on their side. To be clear, the reason that Nick was arrested was because what you have in Portland is what we like to call anarcho-tyranny. Sam Francis came up with this phrase in the 1990s, and it's returned to prominence because it so aptly describes the situation that we're in. The authorities in Portland know that their job is not to arrest Antifa, to stop the violence. Their job is to prevent any conservatives from stopping the violence. They are on the side of the rioters. They're on the side of the violent people. Now, as you said, you can look at some parts of Portland, they're fine. You can look at some and see that they're dangerous. But we can say the same thing about Atlanta, right? I can go to certainly different parts of Atlanta and shoot parts of Atlanta that are perfectly safe, and I can go and shoot pictures of parts you would never walk into, no matter what. And that doesn't mean Atlanta is a safe city. The fact that those areas exist at all in Atlanta is the problem. The same is true here in Portland. Ultimately, what we recognize is that the reason Nick was arrested was because he's on the wrong team. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't violate the law. He ultimately was just trying to take care of the flag that had been thrown on the ground, and yet they pick him up. And the situation is just very obvious. The police know who they're working for, and it is not for the American people. It's not for people like Nick. It is for the protesters. It's for the rioters. Yes, they're wearing a badge, but they know that if they actually arrested these people, they'd get in trouble. They're very familiar with what's going on here. Many of them are probably disgusted by this. I'm sure I've talked to police officers who have been in situations like this. They don't like it ultimately, but they're not going against it, which is a problem in itself. Ultimately, if you are not pushing back against this, even as a professional, I understand nobody wants to lose their job over this, but you become complicit in what's going on. And I think it's fair enough to say that the government of Portland and the police officers in Portland are complicit with this violence, which is why calls for the Trump administration to get involved are necessary. There simply is no civil order when one half of the political spectrum can do violence and the other one gets arrested for trying to stop it.
Yeah. So I don't have the video here, but they start saying, we've got a MAGA, we've got a Trump supporter over here, and a bunch of them run over. And then next thing, he's being jumped and having to fight people off. The police notice, they come over, and instead of going after the people that are aggressively grabbing him, trying to throw him to the ground, hit him when he's not looking, they end up arresting him. Let me show that footage.
Whoa. I'm not through.
Hey, what's your name?
Oh, Tori.
Oh, you're ready to turn that phone off. Let me scan your body. I'll have a conversation with you.
If you turn your phone off, I'll have a conversation with. Don't film us arresting a Trump supporter who defended himself, but we're going to allow crime to run rampant over here. I mean, this like kind of reminds me of the Bible, right? Like, be careful to call good evil and evil good. Here you have somebody that's like trying to save the flag, report on what's going on, and the evil ends up jumping him, harassing him. They get called good. They're the ones that don't spend the night in jail. Now, gratefully, he is out of jail, but it's just a good reminder for people to be safe. This is another journalist, Katie Davis Court. She was jumped by Antifa and beat up, and she was arrested, not the people that ultimately beat her up. I don't know. Do you think Trump is going to have to go even harder on Portland after something like this? Because how can we allow cities to literally have organized crime and violence, and the police are neutered because they don't want to lose their job or be doxxed or have their own families injured or hurt?
Yeah, this is critical to understand for many, many decades now. And this continues to go on, by the way. The Supreme Court has been putting cities under these orders that basically dictate to them how they can run their cities. And this is usually done under the Civil Rights Division whenever there's some kind of complaint about the behavior of police officers when it comes to minorities. And so this is called a consent decree. And it basically lays out the way in which the city has to operate. Basically, it seizes control of law enforcement from the city under the court order. This is very common practice, unfortunately, in the United States on the left. They've been able to do this for many decades. What the right has to recognize is that this is a very common practice, and now they have to do the same thing in reverse. The left simply cannot be allowed to have this behavior in their cities, to make this permissive structure for violence inside their cities. And if you're not willing to step in, these people are going to continue to do violence because, again, they recognize that the police are on their side. The rule of law only works. It's not just a piece of paper. The law is not just a piece of paper or document. It is something that people believe in and live. And so if all of the police and all of the people in the city don't believe in the law, then it doesn't matter if there's technically a piece of paper that says you're not allowed to assault people or you're not allowed to, you can't just arrest a guy for trying to save an American flag. Ultimately, it doesn't matter because the people there and the police are working in tandem to subvert that law. And so the law no longer matters. And so your only options in that scenario are either to just completely separate yourselves from these people or to rule them. There is no other option. The left simply is incapable of self-governance. And we can see it here. When they're allowed to govern themselves, what they do is burn down buildings, burn American flags, arrest people who try to protect themselves or stop the burning of the flag. This is how the left operates. This is what they will do if you give them power, if you allow them to run these cities. And unfortunately, you're in a scenario where if the Trump administration doesn't take action, then it's going to only escalate. So I'm very glad to see that people like Harmeet Dhillion and the Civil Rights Division are looking at this because they have the ability to request consent decrees and take control of the police officers in this city if necessary.
Folks, with inflation crushing our purchasing power and banks paying next to nothing on savings, we need to be smart about protecting our money. Let me tell you about a platform that's actually designed to help regular Americans, not just Wall Street. Moomoo gives their customers completely free access to the same research the big guys pay thousands of dollars for. You'll get trading data, Morningstar reports, Wall Street Journal articles, and Bloomberg News all free. And here's the kicker: zero commissions on stocks and ETFs and zero fees for the platform itself. Here's what really matters. Your uninvested cash earns 8.1% APY for the first 3 months. That's double what most banks offer. It's FDIC insured up to $1 million per account. You don't need to be a trader to benefit. Just park your cash there and earn more than any CD or savings account. And if you use the link in my bio or the QR code on screen, you can earn up to $1,000 in NVIDIA stock after making a qualified deposit. That's real money, not some gimmick. Deposit $100, get $20 in stock. Deposit $10,000, get $300 in stock. You don't need to be a day trader. Use it for free research, earn 8.1% on your cash, collect the free stocks, and have access to real information about what insiders are doing with their money. It's times like these every advantage counts. Just check the link below or scan the QR code to get started today. I can just see the left-leaning media now. Trump-supporting journalist puts face in front of struggling Antifa members' knuckle sandwich. Of course, the left will try to spin this as the conservatives are bad or Trump is bad. I remember they did this during the LA riots. Oh, well, Trump is the reason that these people are being hurt. It's like, no, they were sent in to avoid a city being burned to the ground. But you're right. This morning, breaking news, Attorney General Pam Bondi ordered a full investigation led by Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dhillion of the Portland Police Bureau. Following my wrongful arrest last night, Bondi confirmed to me, F around and find out. Pam Bondi personally called me to deliver this news, and I'm incredibly grateful to her for doing it. The Trump DOJ will not allow Portland police to continue to do the bidding of Antifa. So you're completely right, Oron. We've got to bring in a higher authority, more gun power. If they can't, take control of the situation themselves, then somebody like President Trump is going to have to do that. Let me switch gears with you. Similar topic. President Trump announces we're going to go into Memphis. There is a lot of illegal immigration going on there. Tren de Aragua is trying to set up shop, keep the drug trade going. It's really detrimental to the community. What do Democrats do? They immediately say, this is a predominantly black community. This is racist. This is completely inappropriate. Stay out of Memphis, even though it has the highest murder rate in America. So President Trump goes in there, and wouldn't you know it? Breaking news. In mere hours, the Trump administration surge to Memphis, Tennessee, resulted in the arrest of an illegal alien trained Nicaragua gang member and a man wanted for the violation of a child. 93 criminals arrested in 72 hours. These people just roaming the community, not anymore. Your thoughts on them trying to use the race card on President Trump using the National Guard to fulfill the request of the community? We need help. Murder's out of control. Train de Aragua's out of control. Your thoughts on him as a president having an obligation to do this and them using the race card against him?
Well, again, I would be very happy to allow local governance. I'm a guy who believes in states' rights, who believes in subsidiarity, federalism. But if you are refusing on a regular basis to prevent violent crime in your area, mainly because of your policies that tend to favor one race over another, then the federal government has to take a look at this. And there's a really unpleasant truth, but we have to talk about it, because if we don't, we can't get to the root of this problem. The fact is that Memphis, having the largest African-American population in Tennessee and being the most violent city in Tennessee, are not unconnected. If you look at the crime statistics, especially young black men are statistically drastically more likely to do crime. 1 in every 3 black men does have a felony. If you look at even black women, they are more likely to do violent crime than white men. And we all know the disproportionate violence statistics between men and women. And so if you are going to crack down on crime, just statistically, you will crack down on areas that have a higher propensity, or rather a higher density of African Americans. Now, of course, this does not mean that any given African American is a criminal or violent or any of these things. These people are individuals, and they have rights under the Constitution, and they are made in the image of God. And many of them are perfectly peaceable, lovely people who contribute to their community. But when we look at the statistics, we simply can't lie about this fact, because if we do, then it's easy to get drug into these conversations and somehow get sheepish about what's going on here. If you crack down on crime in the United States, you are going to put more young black men in jail. That is just a reality. And we have to deal with that reality, because ultimately it's about the crime. We want to keep people safe. We want to keep communities safe. That includes black communities. If you look at what's called the Ferguson effect, after these race riots, you had a large number of police officers who refused to go into black communities and police them for obvious reasons. They didn't want to be the next guy who gets destroyed, has their public reputation destroyed on social media. And guess what? Crime in all of these areas went up drastically. The deaths of black people went up drastically because they were not being policed, and policing a neighborhood provides safety. So ultimately, you have to recognize that this is for the good of these communities as well. And by the way, many of those people know that. Like, you're not telling many black people who live in these neighborhoods that there's a problem with crime in their neighborhoods. They know where these problems are. And so I think ultimately Trump has to have the willingness to step in and take the actions like the one he's taking. And when someone starts yelling about racism, you just need to move them aside. You just need to step over them, because ultimately what it's about is law and order and the safety for all these communities, including black Americans.
Yeah. Well, the same thing happened in Chicago. He wanted to go in there. They said that this is racist. And yet there were hundreds of TikToks of black men, black women, black families saying, we need help. The crime has gotten out of control. Now, in this case, they were specifically giving assistance to ICE to go after illegal immigrants and the Train de Aragua. But let me go ahead and show this news report from Fox News.
Attorney General Pam Bondi says that the Memphis Safe Task Force is making an incredible impact throughout the city after just 72 hours on the ground. Madison Scarpino joins us live from Memphis with the details. Good morning, Madison.
Good morning, Lawrence. The arrests so far include a Tren de Aragua gang member and a man wanted for rape of a child. Earlier on Fox and Friends, Tennessee Governor Bill Lee called this task force a generational opportunity.
It's really exciting to think that a city that has been held back by crime for so long, right, a great city that has a great future, but that's been held back for so long, is going to have the opportunity for Memphians have the opportunity to live safely again.
AG Bondi says in just the first 72 hours, they arrested 93 criminals and got 28 illegal guns off the streets. She says her message to law enforcement is simple. We have your back.
All right. Now, I had Judge Joe Brown on my show, very, very famous guy. He's there in Memphis. He was telling me we absolutely need this. It is a very small population of people that are committing the vast majority of crimes. Now, this comes down to something that I've been covering on my show a lot, these soft on crime Democrats, where we now have a gentleman who was arrested 39 times, 25 felonies, kills this young girl in a vacation home. We have Irina Zarutska that was killed by somebody out 14 times. I just think if you're not going to crack down on the small portion that create the vast majority, it makes it unsafe for everyone else. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And again, it all comes down to this perception of some kind of a racial inequity through the justice system. But as you pointed out, many Black Americans know that it's unsafe for them in their communities because of these very policies. Nobody is helped by turning out a young man back onto the street the minute he's done a crime simply because you want to avoid the appearance of racism. I used to work in the public school system, and I worked in a majority minority school. And one of the things we were told is we couldn't suspend students no matter how violent they became because too many minority students were being suspended. But of course, the majority of our school was minority. So you have to suspend minorities if you're going to suspend anyone. It's the same thing here, right? You have a situation where people care more about skin color than they care about the safety of these people. But Irina Zarutska would be alive today if we simply retained criminals in jail where they belong rather than turning them back on the streets so we can reduce the number of Black men in any given jail. This simply makes no sense. We have to care about the people of the United States and their safety, no matter what their color of skin. We cannot get some kind of pass to people who commit violent crime simply because we're worried about statistics about different populations in any given prison. Those soft and crime policies tend to be driven by this narrative of some kind of racial inequity. And until we, again, step over those narratives and simply apply the law as written equally to every American, we will continue to see innocent Americans killed by these soft on crime policies.
Yeah, I agree. Let me look at this last story with you. This is concerning to me. So an NYPD detective on sick leave snuck into the Ryder Cup with a gun in full tactical gear, claiming he was Trump's security, according to the New York Post. Detective Melvin Eng successfully made it into the tournament by claiming he was Trump's security. Eng also claimed he was working for the feds. What if he was looking to hurt someone? He got in there with his gun past the Secret Service, past the state police. Eng was discovered and kicked out after he dropped a magazine on the ground. The detective is now facing administrative charges for theft of service. Yet another security failure. Trump is not safe. This is pretty crazy that somebody in full tactical gear who is a real policeman but should not have been anywhere near the area because of the clothing and the badge, he's able to get right in near the president of the United States with a gun. He ends up dropping a clip. They go, wait, hold on. Who are you? Your thoughts on that? And is President Trump's life in danger if we're not careful?
Oh, President Trump's life is already in danger, and we are not careful. We did not take the assassination attempt of President Trump seriously enough. And you can tell because then Charlie Kirk was assassinated. I put this security failure, honestly, squarely at the foot of Republicans and to some degree the Trump administration for not taking these assassination attempts seriously enough. Now, in this case, it doesn't look like the man was attempting to kill President Trump, or at least we do not know about those plans officially here. But we have to recognize, you can understand how a man like this gets to walk into a scenario. Obviously, the Secret Service is working with local law enforcement on a regular basis. So it makes sense that you see someone who is officially in a police uniform. You assume perhaps that they're part of a detail. But we have to recognize, as we looked at in Portland, some police officers are not on the side of law and order. Some of them are on the side of the leftists. They agree with the progressives. They protect the progressives. They push their ideology. Again, we don't know that about this man, not making any kind of accusations here, but we have to deal with this reality. You can't just trust everybody in a law enforcement uniform anymore. And so it's going to become more and more important for the Secret Service and other government organizations to thoroughly vet even the law enforcement is allowed in the vicinity of President Trump, because as you say, this guy is walking around with his gun. He's so bad at his job, he's dropping magazines on the ground. I mean, this is not professional, obviously, and that probably leads me to believe ultimately that he was not trying to do direct harm. He was just some idiot who thought he would be fun to get in, by lying. He's probably done something like this before and pulled it off. But the fact that he could is itself a huge red alert to the Trump administration and the Secret Service. Secret Service has been, frankly, terrible at its job. And we've seen a lot of reasons why. I think it's pretty obvious. But if they do not step this up, if they are incapable of protecting the president, he should form his own new service. If these people are not able to do their job anymore, if they are this compromised or just this incapable, then you need to go find somebody who is competent at doing this. President Trump, I think, has the access to high-level law enforcement and military who would be willing to protect his life. But if the Secret Service simply cannot get the job done, you need to look elsewhere. This is unacceptable.
Yeah. Yesterday, President Trump, in an interview, they asked him any big plans, and he said, just to survive. He's worried about being impeached. He's worried about being killed. So pretty bad when the sitting president of the United States is asked, what are your big plans? And he's like, I just want to stay alive. So obviously, maybe the Charlie Kirk situation is still on his mind, his own attempted assassination in Butler, Pennsylvania. Hopefully we can get that, make sure that he stays protected. Oron, thank you so much for covering the news with me today. If people want to catch your show, where can I point them?
Thanks again for having me. And of course, you can find me on Blaze TV. It's the Oron Macintyre show there. We also go live on YouTube, on Rumble, on Odyssey. It's on all of the major podcast platforms if you want the audio version. And of course, all of my columns are also at the Blaze.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming on. Have a great weekend.
Thanks again. You too.